Yes. You saved it.
We're making it work. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live.
Yeah. Woo-hoo-hoo. Special anniversary edition.
We did the research and we found out that it was a year ago that we started our first lives. So we're stoked about that. So Thank you everybody that has been tuning in and have been tuning in, liking and sharing our videos and getting them out and even interacting. It's just been so cool. So it's been 1 year. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dean, for congratulating me.
So I'm Dean Nixon. This is Kate Semmens. We are with TurningLeaf Wellness Center here in sunny St. George.
Be cool. I don't know. Let's kind of talk about maybe some of this is not our topic, by the way. I'm just winging this, throwing this at Dean because this is what I do.
She does.
Let's talk about maybe some of our favorite moments from the last year with live. Maybe something we've learned over the last year, either about ourselves or about our fun tribe and community. And
Okay. All right. Let's talk about it.
I think I'm just going to throw Dean straight under the bus. So one of my favorite things over the past year is whenever people come and talk to us about, oh my gosh, they always come to me, how can you get on camera every week and do this? And I'm like, excuse me, I was born for this. This guy I had to convince.
Born for the camera.
And I that's been such a fun journey, I think, to watch you just settle into. I know every week it's still a little bit here we go.
I gotta do it. We're doing
it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely been out of my comfort zone. I'm glad that's your favorite moment.
But there's 365.
Out of my definitely out of my comfort zone, and it has been good. It has been good to kind of settle into it, and I know that doing similar things has really helped. But it was always that putting yourself out there, and I think that's one of the things that was important when you really threw it in front of me. And people love to throw things back in my face, this is what you're always preaching. And one thing Kate did was she's like, you're always talking about getting out of your comfort zone and taking healthy risks. So I'm going to challenge you that we're going to do these lives. And I'm just like, oh, I'm done for. What do I do with that? So here we are a year later, and I have been out of my comfort zone, especially during some of these webisodes or videos. It's been out of my comfort zone, but it's been fun, and I've really enjoyed it. And so I think my favorite moments have been twofold. One is I wish you guys could watch us before and after the videos, because it is just Keystone Cops, getting the cameras set up and getting everything. That to me is always funny. And then my other favorite moment is when the cameras fall or collapse, or something hysterical happens, or the lights are flickering or something. It's just hilarious what has happened through the years. And my beard. I go back and I look at the videos around
your beard is your favorite part. That makes sense.
I do love my beard. But how did you people let me get away with that in November and December?
It got pretty bad.
It was huge. I looked at it, I'm like, holy cow, I didn't realize. It's so subtle.
'Tis the season, and you know what? It's gonna happen again.
Yeah, it might. I don't know. This year, I've got a lot of people around me going, no, not again. A lot of counsels. So those are some of my favorite moments. So it's been fun. So thank you for challenging me. And here we are a year later.
Thank you. And thank you guys. I know we already said it, but seriously, thank you for supporting us, loving us, and sharing what we do. It really means a lot to have you guys in our community and in our dugout.
Yes. Yes, very much
any more analogies we can throw at that, but that's been a super fun part for me, is just getting to know a lot of you. Since when we first started, I was really new to the TurningLeaf family.
You were fresh to it. Yeah. Very true. And so we've already got a comment. We got Noelle who's talking about enmeshments talk. So I'm assuming you're asking us to talk about that. If so, let us know, and we can talk a little bit about that. We can move a little off topic if we need to address that.
It's actually not far off topic.
It's not actually. So anyway, we'll get to our topic.
Perfect. So tonight in our families support group, we had some really cool conversations happening, which we do every single week. So by the way, I know we're kind of always shouting it out there, but if you've got, I don't know any family, honestly, that doesn't have something happening that people can't come and get some support on.
Right.
But especially, we've got a lot of people that have family members who are addicts. We've got, like myself, aged parents that we're trying to take care of, all sorts of different family dynamics. Enmeshments, yes. Codependency, all those kinds of things.
Struggles in communication, rifts in family relations, all sorts of things.
Yes, so come and join us. It goes from 6 until 7:30 here at the TurningLeaf Wellness Center every single Monday night. Right before Monday Night Live. Yep.
And then we also do have the women's group, which is also a great way. And it's a great way to get support and information, and it's just really awesome.
Yeah. I posted a thing today about the July stack up, so go check it out.
Yeah.
Tried something new. So
your new agenda for the month.
That's right.
So you were saying?
Yes. So tonight we started talking about how did it even lead in, Dean? Why am I struggling remembering?
We were talking a lot about setting boundaries and having a hard time holding those boundaries with family members. And so what wound up happening is I wound up sharing a concept that I loved, and it was one that I share occasionally from time to time, and it came from the movie The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And so if any of you have seen that movie, it is very, very scary. It's a murder mystery. It can be a little rough at times, but the thing that was intriguing to me about it was the scenario that happened. There was a profound moment in there, and so I've taken some liberties with it and really kind of making it a little bit more in depth. And so what wound up happening, Daniel Craig, who is one of the main characters in it, is an investigative reporter. He has gone to this island that the murderer is on, the serial killer, and he's doing some investigation into it. And as he's investigating it, he really figures out who it is. And as a consequence, he goes and breaks into the murderer's home, which is always what freaks you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're watching the movie, you're like, don't do that. So he breaks in, he's searching through the house, and all of a sudden the murderer comes home. And so what does he do is he scoots out the back door. And as he scoots out the back door, the murderer flips on the back porch lights, and there he is standing there and caught. He's caught. So the murderer, just says, hey, what are you doing out here? And Daniel's like, oh, I'm just taking a walk. And so then the murderer says, well, why don't you come in and have a drink with me? And so Daniel Craig, feeling awkward, not wanting to get caught, he invites, he goes in to
accepts that invitation.
Accepts the invitation. And as he goes into the house, the murderer starts to talk to him, and he's like, hey, can I pour you a drink? He's like, sure, that'd be great. He's like, did you figure out who it is? And Daniel's like, yeah, I think I have figured out who it is. And so he hands him a drink, and he starts drinking it. And then next thing you know, he's like, well, let me show you something. And so the murderer leads him downstairs, down into the basement of the house. And I'm freaking out like this.
Never
I'm
go
like,
down into basements.
Why are you doing this? So he goes down in the basement and he flips on the light, and there's this whole basement decked out to dispose of humans in. And as Daniel's standing down there in it, he starts getting dizzy and woozy because his drink had been poisoned, and so he passes out. And so he comes back to. The movie catches him as he regains consciousness, and now he's in the basement. He's hanging there.
He's in the torture chamber.
He's the murderer's going to dispose of him. And so the murderer says, and this is the point in the whole story. This is the whole point. He says, the thing that's interesting to me is that the people are more interested in being polite than being honest. And he said, at first, when I invited you in, you knew who I was, you knew what I was about, but yet you accepted my invitation and you came into my home. And then when I gave you a drink, you said yes instead of saying no, because in your heart you wanted to say no, but instead of being rude, which you thought, or instead of being honest and being afraid of being rude, you said yes. So you wanted to be polite rather than honest. And so then I invited you into the basement, and again, instead of being honest and saying no, you wanted to be polite and said yes. So now you invited into my basement. And he said, so in a way, you really wanted this. In a way, and this is where the murderer's mind, twisted mind goes, that you created this, and et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that was so profound to me about the story was how we're more concerned about being polite than being honest. We're more concerned about avoiding the discomfort of the argument or what people may think, or standing up for ourselves, than being honest. And that discomfort, that's what's interesting to me about it as human beings, is we're more interested in being what other people are going to think, or being polite to other people, than being true to our own voice and true to who we are. And that's what we were talking about.
And I love that you pointed out that piece, because that's what it was for me. It's not like that you're being dishonest, but you're not being true to yourself.
Right.
So shout out to my girlfriend Andy. Today's her birthday, but she's setting 38 intentions for herself this year, and that was one of them. She shared that with me on her Marco Polo today, was to be more intentional in the things that she chooses to do, which is just exactly what we're talking about, right? Like being honest and being true to yourself, and not getting caught in the trap of, I'm going to be kind, right? I think, and we do all these things out of good places. They just end up not serving us, really.
Right. And they wind up, it's not true to our voice. It doesn't honor who we are. And as we get concerned about what other people are thinking and how other people are going to feel, we wind up getting, and this does lead into somewhat of what Noel was asking about, the enmeshments. And that's where we get so enmeshed, where our feelings are so enmeshed with other people's feelings and what other people are thinking, that we can't even be true about our own feelings and true about what's really inside of our heart, because I'm more enmeshed with my value or my thoughts, or who I am is so enmeshed with who you are, or who you think I should be, that we can't even be true to our own voice. And that's a really important piece for us, because one of the things I'm seeing a lot, especially with a lot of the clients that are coming in recently, is there's this culture that we live in, this culture that we grow up in, you have the family culture, then you have the society culture, and then you have other cultures and subcultures within that. And pretty soon that culture system becomes the filtration system of what you see yourself through, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And so as a consequence, it's hard to see yourself and who you truly are,
based upon all those different lenses that you're looking through.
Right.
Right. So then that would make it a lot more difficult to actually dig in there and find your true, right? And be able to govern your decisions and your life choices, and not be rude, right?
To be honest.
To be honest.
And because in reality there are certain things that you're going to do and you're going to say that other people aren't going to like. But there's a truth here. And that's where we get into this concern, is I don't want to be told I'm wrong. I don't want to be told I'm bad. I don't want to be told. And a lot of times we get into where people will shame, and people will argue, and people will hammer things home trying to prove that they're right. Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about having your own voice and saying, this is how I feel. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong, but this is how I feel.
Right. Or even going back to your the story from the movie, you know what I mean? Like, if he would have just, like, when the light flipped on, he would have been like, hey, you want to come in? Hey, no, I'm good, thanks. I got somewhere else to be.
I'm taking a walk.
Yeah, he's not going to offend the murderer, right? If anything, the murderer's going to, like, start chasing after him or something, like, and the movie would have gone a different direction. But he wouldn't have been offended, but he came into the house because he was afraid to offend him.
Right.
Right? And so many times we think oh, I have to say or do this, or I gotta do this because I don't want to offend them, when they may not even be offended if you like decline an invitation, or am I articulating that well?
Well, no, very well. And I think that's a big point is a lot of times we've got to give people more credit than we do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people will understand more than we think they'll understand. And yeah, I think it's true. You're dead on. Is there's a lot of times where if I just speak my truth and I do it in a very loving, kind way, people aren't necessarily going to be offended by that.
Right.
It's okay for me to have that voice. And I think that's the part that needs to be really caught, that we need to be aware of is, in our world right now, we're really pushing tolerance. We're really pushing being accepting. We're really pushing allowing people to have voice and be heard. And those things are really, really important. But we also need to understand that just because somebody's expressing a feeling doesn't mean that they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that they're right. It just means it's an opinion. And I think that's where we get into these troubles. The trouble in our life is that in our minds, it needs to be factual, and we need our feelings validated, and I need people to validate me and tell me that I'm right and I'm not a bad person and I'm a good person. And that's where we run into trouble, because now I have to argue, now I have to contend, instead of just telling my truth and speaking my truth. The beautiful part about it is truths can change for us. I mean, you can think for a long period of time that you can't do a headstand. and that's one of those truths. But if you practice long enough, you can overcome that, and all of a sudden your truth is you can do headstands.
Right.
But people change, people grow. Truths change for them, and they grow.
Yeah. I think another little piece to this whole puzzle about like being with your truth, not worrying about offending people by I say that too when we talk about this, like, if your intention is not to hurt somebody, it's not to like go out and be cruel, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, you're not out there just throwing out a bunch of hate and shame and guilt and everything like that, then most likely your messages will be received. They may not be grabbed onto as gospel or whatever.
Right.
But people will be like, oh, cool, interesting, that's how they feel about that. But I just had a memory come to mind, something that you and I worked through in one of my life coaching sessions a while ago. But I used to have this gentleman in my life who would call me and ask for favors, and I would go like go pick him up, go drive him over to some place. And then afterwards I would get pretty angry with myself, like, oh, why did I do that? Like, all in the effort to be kind, right? Like, oh, I'm trying, was it Noelle was saying about the enmeshments, right? Like, kind of just needing to get my validation piece for me and getting my value externally and doing things like that. So I've worked through a lot of that kind of stuff. But I remember the advice you gave me was, I was like, oh, I was just trying to be kind. And you're like, I would actually suggest that maybe you were being cruel by doing that. And then we had a conversation about, enabling this gentleman friend, as well as not being good to me,
right,
and not standing in and taking care of me and my needs,
right,
dropping whatever it was that I was doing, aka trying to go to bed, and going to rescue this person.
Right.
And I think that fits very well with the same kind of like not sitting in your truth and not wanting to be rude and being like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, bro, you're gonna have to find a different ride, right? Like, there was a lot of layers in there for me, but it's that same kind of concept. I don't want to be rude and offensive. So I put myself at jeopardy. There went my phone.
Oh, we lost.
Sorry, Instagram.
Her phone died. We've lost the feed to Instagram. So thank you, all our Instagram watchers. So
1 minute left. Dang it.
We were so close.
That's been part of the fun, like we talked about at the beginning of this.
That will go into one of my memories, one of my fond memories.
Jeez.
Well, we're so thankful again as we're getting down to the end of our time here. The thing that we really want to stress, and I think that's the important thing, is it's important for us to really honor our voice. And I don't have to be disrespectful. I don't have to be rude.
Right.
I don't have to be right. And I don't have to be wrong. But it's okay that I honor my thoughts and my feelings and be open enough that I can express my feelings, and be open enough that if it's not healthy for me to stay in that place, that I can move But if it is valid, then I can stay rooted in that truth. And that's the thing that we have to remember. Truth is always evolving for ourselves. The truth that I had when I was 25, my truth at 25, is not my truth today at 54.
Thank heaven.
Yes, it's 54. Or as I like to say, as a dyslexic man, I'm 45. But
I believe it, Dean.
There you go, 45-year-old dyslexic man. But the reality is that my truth today at my age is different than when I was 25 years old. And so honoring that truth, knowing that it can change, and knowing it can mature and evolve is important. Yeah. So the key is, and what we're challenging everybody to do, especially women right now, because that's our mission this year, to really empower women to use their voice and to honor their voice and to value that voice. And don't be afraid to express it, and be open to change and growth if that's required.
Yeah. And the whole point of this too, when we were talking in group, is don't get lured out of our boundaries that we create just because we want to be polite.
That's right. Absolutely. So thank you again for everybody tuning in. Thank you, Noelle. Thank you, Max. Aloha to you too, brother. And thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for liking and sharing our videos and making our 1 year anniversary such a special one. So thank you once again, and we'll see you next week on Monday Night Live.
Bye guys.
So I'll go high, you go low this time. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right.